Today we come to Lignano Sabbiadoro to test a boat that is especially attractive for the Italian market because it doesn't require registration in Italy. It's the Dufour 37, the latest model built by the French shipyard. Follow me, let's test it.
$9.98
9.98 by 3.8 by 1.80 meters draft. These are the key measurements of this Dufour 37. And we must keep these measurements well in mind because they're the key features of this boat. We're on board a 37, but an unusual 37, because its length is 2 centimeters below the limit for mandatory registration. It's exactly 9.98 meters. So why has it been called a 37? It's called a 37 to mean that it's a very spacious and large boat. In fact, as soon as we step below deck, you'll realize that this is anything but a 33-footer. It feels like a proper 37. It's really a very large boat. This model is going to replace the Dufour 360 Grand Large. The 360 Grand Large, one of Dufour's most successful models, was 3.52 meters wide, while this one is 3.80. That's 30 centimeters wider. And on a boat of this size, 30 centimeters is an enormous difference. Why am I insisting on volume? Because these were the team orders that Umberto Felci's firm received from the yard when they had to design this boat. The two key criteria were we want a boat with a whopping cockpit and a huge volume below deck. But these two things don't mix, because a longer cockpit means narrower space below deck. So this was a real challenge for the Felci firm. But they've won a lot of challenges, and were successful this time too. How did they do it? They did it two ways. One, they gave more volume to the top sides in this area of the boat. By giving more volume here, they've created a remarkably deep and straight chain locker. So the chain goes straight down a very deep shaft, and it's never in danger of jamming. Once the chain jamming problem was avoided, the anchor locker door was of little use, so they didn't make one. So they were able to move the fore bulkhead slightly forward, and in this way they made a lot of room below deck. This is how they solved the problem. In comparison with the Dufour 360 GL, this boat has both a longer cockpit and more space below deck. And now that we've outlined the main features, let's discover the boat in detail with Luca Venica. Luca Venica, our guest today, is the owner of Euro Sail Yacht. This boat belongs to them. Euro Sail Yacht is the Dufour test center in Lignano Sabbiadoro. And bear in mind that this is a proper test center. Here you'll find all models of the Dufour range, all ready to be tested. And they're not private owners' boats. It's the company that buys the boats, uses them for testing purposes, and then at the end of the season, puts them up for sale, ready for delivery. We're now at the end of June. If you come here and choose this boat, you can have it for your August vacation. Let's meet Luca Venica. Please, follow me.
Io andrei a conoscere Luca Venica. Seguitemi.
Hi, Luca.
Hi, Maurizio. Welcome to Lignano again.
Luca, we're on board the Dufour 37. I know that this boat is available in several layouts, which I'll explain later when I go below deck, but there are also several setups. Would you like to talk about that?
There are basically three setups: Easy, Ocean, and Performance. Basically, you can see that the difference between Easy and Performance is all about performance.
Of course, but sails are bigger too.
Yes, 60 square meters instead of 50.
I see. What's new with this boat? I already saw something new in the deck gear this morning when I tested it.
For deck gear, we have the three-dimensional Genoa sheet point, which you can basically think of as a traveler coupled with a barber, so that whether you bear away or sail upwind, you can always adjust the Genoa perfectly.
And it works great. This morning I tried it. The sail was suffering a bit, so Chiara let go a little bit of the barber sheet. That lifted, the sail rose a little bit, and the boat pace changed drastically. This is what I mean by having an extra adjustment. Being able to adjust your sails even better. Let's talk about the hull. I know there have been changes in the hull, too.
The hull is totally new. It has nothing to do with the 360. To give all this volume to the cockpit, much work has been done on the water lines. And if you work aft, you have to work forward too. The bow is reminiscent of the Class 40 trend, with high upworks and a fairly sleek bottom that allows you to surf the waves.
You've kept a rather narrow aft underbody because, as I see, it has a single-blade rudder.
We at Dufour always prefer the single blade, because the difference in performance when cruising is minimal, but handiness in harbors is something unique.
I see that here as well on all your models. You have what I think is the aft galley.
Yes, right. There is a grill as always, and a new platform that gives a unique line to the boat. We introduced these two big consoles that the 360 did not have, a gorgeous grab rail, and space to install all instruments.
Luca, before going below deck, I'd like to ask you something. I know that you, as Euro Sail Yacht, are proposing a sail system that I find very interesting. Can you tell us about it?
Rather than a sail system, it is a financing system, a sale with a repurchase agreement, so any customer knows exactly how much they are going to spend over 3 or 5 years, depending on their choice.
So how does it work? I give you a down payment, then for a period of time I pay nothing more? You said 3 years?
3 or 5 years. You can choose. The system is quite tailor-made, so you can decide to give a very low deposit at the beginning, or a higher deposit and then have shorter or lower installments.
But do I have to pay installments in the time span between the down payment and the final redemption?
You may decide to pay installments, or you may simply choose to give a very high down payment.
So, may I also finance the down payment?
Sure, it is also possible to finance the down payment. What is certain is that in 3 or 5 years, you have a definite cost. So we can call this system a sort of long rent operation.
This is very intriguing indeed. I'm going to go below deck. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Gli interni, ci vediamo tra poco.
Ok.
Ecco, qui noi cominciamo a vedere.
Here, we begin to see plastically why this boat is called a 37. When you come below deck, the feeling of space is remarkable. This model is much bigger than other unregistered boats. Why? Because the maximum beam, that stays 380 centimeters wide, almost up to the stern, creates a totally different boat. On a boat, volume and space depend on width rather than length. And this is a very wide boat indeed. There's a very large dinette, an equally spacious L-shaped galley with a refrigerator, a double sink, and an oven. What we should notice right away is the cupboard arrangement, which is a distinctive feature of Dufour. All Dufour boats have high cupboards, something that's not provided by all boat builders. And this is very convenient when you're on board for 2 or 3 weeks, because it saves you the hassle of having to get your things from the locker under the couch every time you need them. It's certainly much more convenient to open a cupboard and put in or take something out from there. The other thing we should notice is that this boat isn't equipped with a chart table. This piece of furniture is here in the 2-cabin version because now we're on board the 2-cabin version, but not in the 3-cabin version. In that version, there's a bulkhead that's inserted here to create the head. In this version, the head is here instead. Here it is, a really spacious head, with a shower tray. Of course, there's no separate shower stall. There is a shower tray, and the separate shower faucet and sink faucet, which is a smart thing. And down there, that hatch there, gives access to the large aft locker. The head and the aft locker replace the 3rd cabin. If you choose the 3-cabin version, you lose these 2 items. The head is placed in this area and is noticeably smaller. Also in this version, we have a spacious aft cabin with a big double bed that extends all the way under the cockpit floor. And on the other side of the boat, this forward cabin, a truly impressive cabin, where we find the bed in the middle with space on each side, and especially the double door, which is a really clever thing, because if you leave it open, when you enter the boat, you have this feeling of space and openness, which is a pleasant feeling. Finally, here's the table, a large central table with 2 wings. When open, it can easily seat 6 people, and it also has a little gem that I really liked. It's the cutlery drawer, something that's become rare but extremely useful, because if you don't have it, each time you need to take cutlery, you have to open the box where the cutlery's stored, and that's a hassle. I think we've seen a bit of everything. Let's go back on deck, do some more sailing, and draw conclusions from this sea test. Let's go.
conclusioni di questa prova in mare. Andiamo. Luca, Dufour, devo dire che anche su una barca...
Luca, I must say that even on such a small boat, Dufour was able to maintain a really nice standard of finish.
If I may say so, I can tell you that no boat builder works with wood better than us, especially on models of this size, with these finishes.
Really very nice. Chiara, will you let me take the helm a little bit? So I'll have fun too, although this morning I tried the boat for a long time. Luca, shall we talk about the sail plan? Which sail plan do we find on this boat?
On this boat we find the traditional sail plan, with the Genoa and the half-battened mainsail.
And how many square meters does that make?
We have 55 meters here. Of course, for this boat it is also possible to choose the self-tacking jib and the furling mainsail.
Perfect. This clearly depends on how many people in your group are able to steer the boat. If you're on your own, the furling mainsail and the self-tacking jib will get you out of a lot of trouble. On the other hand, you are going to sacrifice much in terms of performance. But any boat, as we've always said, is the result of a compromise. In addition to the self-tacking jib, however, there is something else that can be fitted, which, in my opinion, is something intriguing, since we also have a fixed dolphin striker embedded into the hull. I'm talking about the head sails, such as a Code Zero or a Jenniker, that even with very light winds allow us to sail well without turning on the engine. Or you might try the Parasailer, another sail that I like very much. Let me tell you what I experienced this morning. I found a very responsive boat. Thanks to this very large rudder, as soon as you give a command, the boat responds on the spot. This is a fast boat. Of course, we're talking about a cruiser, not a racing boat, but its performance as a fast cruiser is impressive. It's the kind of boat I can take for sailing fun, especially if the wind isn't too light. From here onwards, right now we have 11 knots. With 11 to 17 knots of wind, I really have a lot of fun with this boat, especially if I have someone who can help me. As Luca explained, the hull is somewhat reminiscent of the ocean open, so it does its best when sailing downwind. But right now, we're close hauled, and as you can see, the boat is sailing very nicely. And with that, I think we've drawn a fairly complete profile of the Dufour 37. I'd like to thank Luca Venica for lending us this boat and providing us with excellent advice.
Thank you, Maurizio. Greetings to all your viewers.
Greetings from me too. I thank you for your attention and patience in following us, and look forward to welcoming you to the next video from solovela.net.